Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you're joining me on this live lecture from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. My name is Dr. Obioramba Iboweze, reaching you again from Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University. Today's date is Nkwo Market Day in the 11th month of the Igbo lunar calendar called Onwa Aja Ana. And in the Roman Catholic calendar, today's date is 12/15/2024. Remember, at Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University, we always encourage you to use your naturally given common sense to evaluate all the issues you are hearing about, both in the media, friends, and family, before you make a decision. And if other media houses in the world, like in North America, USA, Canada, and Mexico, France, Britain, Australia, Russia, and so many others present lectures to benefit their population, the same way Nkolo Mahadum Wisdom University will also package lectures and present them in Biafran and African perspectives, how it affects us, how it affects me and you, how you should see it, so that you don't see things from somebody's another culture's situation. You see things from your own side, how things are affecting you, how the world is. And therefore, invite and tag all your friends, your family into this live lecture, because it's very, very important. And all of you should subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our lectures, comment, follow, and most importantly, share it to everybody. And if you miss this lecture, go immediately and listen to it so that you understand what is going on in the world. And go back to our previous lectures, because all those lectures we have prepared and delivered are meant for you. The title of today's lecture is Understand Chief Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani and the Future of Syria and the bloodbath that we follow. The title of our today's lecture is to understand Chief Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani, who is the new leader of Syria, the one that they used to topple President Bashir Al-Assad. And here we will let you know what the future of Syria will look like and the possible bloodbath that will follow, which will come as a result of wars, more regime changes, more competition to who will control what, and the resultant deaths that will occur. And before we continue, we have to introduce to you whom Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani is. Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani was born Ahmed El-Shara in 1982 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. So his first name, where he was born in 1982 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, his parents named him Ahmed Al-Sharia. So that was his first name, before he now changed it to what we know him to be today, Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani. He began as a Syrian foreign fighter, which means he was born in Saudi Arabia, but he migrated to Syria as a foreign fighter in his early 20s when he was very young. He didn't think about, maybe he went to Arabic school, I don't know, but he started fighting early in his life. And then later he crossed to Iraq in 2003 when the US invaded Iraq to fight with the Americans. And in Iraq, he was arrested and imprisoned. Soon after he was released from the prison, that prison is called Camp Bucca, he returned to fight again with the Bashir Assad government in Syria. He later founded Jabhat al-Nusra, meaning victory front. His militant group that he founded, the first one he founded was Jabhat al-Nusra, which means victory front, which he used to pledge allegiance to Al-Qaeda. He was working with Al-Qaeda at that time. But in 2016, he broke away from the alliance with Al-Qaeda to form another terrorist group called Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which is always abbreviated to HTS. So when you hear about HTS in Syria, they are referring to the terrorist group being headed by the current leader of Syria, Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani. And so, with his HTS, he was in charge of northwestern province of Idlib in Syria. So there he was collecting taxes. You see how some of these Boko Haram are doing in northern Nigeria? You think they are playing there, managing the one area, collecting taxes? The same way. He was running that northwestern province of Idlib for many years in Syria. And it was from there that Turkey came into alliance with them, retrained them, equipped them, that made them to successfully overthrow the military of Syria to topple President Bashir Assad. It is worth noting that more than 10 years ago, the United States Department was advertising 10 million reward for the arrest of the current leader of Syria. 10 years ago, the American State Department was advertising, ready to give anybody that will arrest the current leader of Syria $10 million. So the question is, how come these terrorists, who America, the leader of the world, has $10 million bounty on his head, became the president of, or the leader of Syria today? That's the question everybody has to be asking. Why? Why should America allow Turkey to use somebody like this man, Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani, and his terrorist group to overthrow an elected government of Bashar Assad? And so, Nkrumah Mahadum is of the opinion that there will be bloodbaths. The future of Syria is that there will be bloodbaths that will follow, resulting from the following. There are so many factors that is playing around that will result to a lot of blood wars, a lot of killings, a lot of displacements in Syria. One of them will be the pressure from the United Nations and many world leaders on America. Why should you allow a terrorist leader whom you have $10 million bounty on to be used by Turkey to overthrow an elected government of Syria? So there'll be pressure on the American government to do another regime change. That's why we say that another regime change will happen, because the war will not sit and allow this terrorist leader to remain as the leader or the president of Syria for a very, very long time. And in trying to remove him, there will be killings. There will be killings unless there's a way to reach a deal with him, pay him off, pardon him of all his atrocities with his group. If not, he will resist any change to occur. And by him resisting means more killings, more bloodbaths in Syria. Another factor that will lead to wars and bloodbaths in Syria is Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel recently approved plan to encourage expansion of settlements in the occupied Golan Heights. You know that after the six-day war with the Arabs in 1967, Israel forcefully occupied this Golan Heights. And since after they toppled Bashir Al-Assad, Israel has already been expanding those occupations. And so the government of Syria, whoever is there, whether it is this terrorist or somebody else, will start to fight Israel if Israel does not pull back their forces to the original recognized boundary by the United Nations. So the conflict between Israel and the Syrian government will lead to wars and killings and destruction and so many things. Another factor that will lead to a lot of killings and wars is the American and Turkey clash over the Kurds. You know that the president of Turkey, Erdogan, is accusing the Kurds who are fighting for independence in his country, that some of them that live in eastern Syria are supporting those Kurds in Turkey. And Erdogan, president of Turkey, have been fighting and killing the Kurds because they don't want to grant them independence. And on the other hand, America is using the Kurds also, is in alliance with the Kurds to fight the Syrian government. And so the clash between America and Turkey will lead to a lot of wars, a lot of deaths, a lot of destructions in Syria. Another factor that will lead to wars and destruction in Syria is power tussle within the Sunni Arabs to replace the current Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani. Because there'll be pressure on them too. You cannot allow a terrorist to be a leader of a country. If that is the kind of world we are trying to create, where a non-terrorist will be given permission to govern a country, like any country, even though Syria has about 23 million in population. But even if it's one person, it's not fair in the world to have a terrorist as the leader of that country. So those within the Sunni Arabs, because they are the highest in population in Syria, they will try to change this new leader, and that will lead to wars and killings and destruction. The last factor that will lead to killings and destruction is Iran and Hezbollah will be working covertly underground to replace any Syrian leader who is not ready to work with them. You know that Syria have been working with Hezbollah and Iran all this time. And so any leader in Syria that is not ready to work with Iran and Hezbollah, these two forces will come together to find a way to topple that leader and install their own puppets. And so, because of time, like we said, we have to be keeping things short. So the takeaway from today's lecture is that the new leader of Syria that replaced Bashir Assad, Abu Mohammad Al-Jolani, was born as Al-Shara in 1982 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. He became a Syrian foreign fighter in his early 20s. Fought in Iraq, was jailed, freed. He went back to Syria and kept fighting, formed his group. His latest group is the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. In brief, HTS. His HTS was in charge of northwestern Syria province of Idlib. Before now, they ran through Aleppo and other Syrian cities to topple President Bashir Assad. And this man, the United States Department has advertised him for $10 million reward for his arrest. So he's now the president of Syria. And we are saying that there will be bloodbaths because of the following reasons. Pressure on the United States by the United Nations and other leaders of the world to do a regime change, to change this terrorist from being the leader of Syria. That will lead to wars. Second one, Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, expanding the Golan Heights, approving settlement in the Golan Heights. Any Syrian leader will fight against that to get those territories back. That will lead to wars. The tussle or the clash between America and Turkey will also lead to another war and regime change and destruction in Syria. Power tussle in the population, in the Sunni population, and also Iran, Hezbollah will come together to make sure that if any leader in Syria is not listening to them, they will try also to do a regime change to put one that will listen to them. And with this, we shall be bringing this lecture to an end. But before we end it, I have to advise you to please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our lecture, follow us on Facebook and Twitter, comment, and share. And if you miss any of our lecture, try to listen to them and then go back to our previous lectures. And finally, if we Africans cannot go to Europe and say, hey, you are one country, dismantle all the colonial boundaries in Africa, because that is the sources of the poverty, exploitation, the killings, the migrations that is occurring in our land. And with this, this, we shall be bringing this to this lecture. And thank you very much for joining me today, and have a great one.